messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned. Your view on things will be altered. You are now part of the Meta. The Meta controls everything. The Meta determines what will and will not happen. You are watching The Meta Show.
And we're live.
Yes, I fixed it. Sorry.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be here on the Imperium News Channel as opposed to on FatB TV, which is fantastic. We just had a minor slip-up where we were crossing the streams, as it were. But thanks for coming here. We have a fantastic show today. The big news, we actually have a number of big news items to go over. There has been a redeployment of Pandemic Horde from, where by redeployment I mean bravely running away from Branch back to Geminate. And of course, a headlining a bit of news involving NC losing a Keepstar, a couple of Titans. This is, of course, the infamous battle of HTAC 5. And thank you for the resub, Nixdorf Bozeman. Good name, I like it. And yeah, so here we are. We have a huge panel of guests here today that Boat has magicked to get. Boat, do you want to go around and get some introduction?
Yeah, so we have, I'll just name them all off real quick because a lot of people have never seen some of these names on the Meta Show. Pando, John Hartley, Brisker Ball, Boris Agnod, and Apple Pear. Apple Pear and Boris have been here before. But the other three, I don't think they've ever been on the Meta Show. I had to make new name tags. That was fancy. So we'll start at the top and we'll just go down the list. So Apple Pear, go ahead and reintroduce yourself. Tell everyone hi.
Hello, I'm Apple Pear. I'm a member of Hakyuku and sometimes FC.
Hey, Mr. Boris.
Hello, I'm Boris. I'm one of the coordination directors for the Gunstorm Federation, and I herd cats.
Cat herding.
Ooh, cat herding. It's Brisk. Hi, Brisk.
Hi, Bo. Good evening. Good afternoon, I should say, everybody. Brisker Ball, CSM Extraordinaire, as well as Top Damage Raven Pilot.
Hi, John Hartley. Welcome to the show.
Hello. I am another core director for Goons and a space file.
I heard that as Pandemic Horde director for Goons, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute here. I think I'm hearing things. And then we have Pando, who's a kind of a mythical person.
Yep. Hey. I'm an Init FC. The MGD guy.
The MJD guy. And real quick, before we get jumping into this, we'll get jumping into our story right away. But Nixdorf Bozeman, thank you for subscribing. William Arcturus, 26 months, a CSM member, gets top damage. Scan to be explored, I hope. Yeah, we're going to talk about all that. Robin Hood for 5 months, thank you, sir. Psycho Babble, just subscribe, thank you. Shindy for life says Spartan Vanguard Best Corp in Test, 4 months in a row. Artway, just 21 months as Meta Show Best Show. Wow, we have a lot of people here. Alaref's 5 months. Yes, Alaref's 5 months. Can we hunt DBRB? Yeah, sure, I guess. Mark Fungs, 7 months. 7 months of boat. Jeez, my ears. Slacker 1807 says 6 months. God, I'm running out of words. Finger McBanger, Twitch Prime, thank you very much. And Feckit, Twitch Prime, thank you. And then we also had 300 bits. And it's lost in the... Camo Fox. Or Kane Mo Fox. Or Morpherox. Kane Mo Ferox, I think that's the name. Thank you very much. Alright, so I get to press a fancy button this week because we actually have a plan. Oops. I forgot to scroll mittens down because I made a new mittens. Okay, top story today. H-5, and I got a fancy link for you guys so you can see it. The title of this one is NC Super is currently eating shit in H-5. We're going to go around the room on this one, but I think the best quote I have came from K-Color and Hyper, who were helping stream it on INN. And at one point, they had to ask if we were still shooting the Keepstar because we were busy killing Titans and Supers. And everyone kind of forgot that we were still doing that. So, yeah, that's pretty awesome. So, right away, we'll start with the most important person of that whole fight. Is Brisker Ball got top damage. Not only was he on part of the Init Raven fleet, but you managed to get top damage on the Keepstar. I'm guessing you're the only one that followed orders and kept shooting. Everyone else tried to get on kill mills. So what was that like?
Well, it was exciting because that's the first time I think I've ever done that. But it also was the benefit was that we kind of staged at Ajita for this. So when I knew we were in Ravens, I just popped like a bunch of high-end implants into my head and had enough pyro to last for 6 hours worth of tie-dye. So that's what kept me on top, which was very nice. And then, of course, I followed orders because I do what Panda.
And then, of course, the FC of the hour.
Most
Technically, you know, the order was also to split damage every now and then. You might have not followed rules.
Oh!
You will never know.
Absolutely.
So, Pando, you've done these Ravens before. I believe they're called Bush Ravens. And they're quite amazing to watch. And every once in a while, NC had a great way of dealing with them. They would use MJD Max or, like, the Smart Bomb materials. But this fight, they seem to be, I don't know if you call it lackluster or just not good FC or what, but NCU seemed to be doing horrible. And they just tried Titans and Supers. So how do you think that went?
How do I think that went? Well, so first of all, we were kinda confused that they didn't try to use like chemos. We were kinda prepared for that, right? I mean, we had to deal with that in the past, and we expected a max form. So I was prepared for chemos. I was prepared for the Smart Bomb Max, which they had formed, but they couldn't get onto us, right? Yeah, we were expecting a little bit more, right? But we were still confident that we have a good shot at this, right? You never know 100%. A lot of things can go wrong in, especially in Ravens, right?
Yeah.
And if they go wrong, they go horribly wrong, right? So.
Do we have any idea? And this is the thing that, in many ways, caught a lot of the Goonswarm leadership by surprise. We weren't expecting NC to be dropping this Keep Star, much less having it caught out and be so vulnerable, as it were. You know, I think the question in a lot of people's mind is essentially, what the hell were they thinking, right? Like, how did this even happen? Pando, since you were leading the forces from the initiative side, from what I understand, do you have any inkling into their thought process, any strategy behind this, or did they just drop the ball? Like, what was going on from the NC side of things, not only in deploying this Keep Star, but in their attempt to defend it?
Well, I think it's pretty clear, right? They were overconfident, which happens to all of us every now and then. I'm not gonna say it never happened to me before, right? So they thought they can just anchor it easy peasy. It's just a 24-hour warning time. They have a shit ton of caps, right? Supers, Titans, everything. Nobody can really contest with that force. So they felt confident that it's going to be an easy peasy thing and nobody's even going to show. And I mean, it was close to, like, it wasn't an easy decision from our side either, right? We expected a very hard fight, and is it worth it, right? So we expected them to be super prepared for this, and then there's a possibility we just feed into them, right? That's not what we want, especially when they just deploy stuff to do whatever, right? To start a campaign towards Germinate. You don't want to feed them on day one, right? That's like the worst case scenario.
Yeah, it struck me as a curious thing because from what I can tell in the aftermath, the primary FC for NC from what I understand, was a gentleman by the name of Nitispar. Did I get?
Yeah, Nitispar. Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. So this was the guy. Was he the lead FC, or was Vince also on the field?
As far as I'm aware, Vince was not there at all.
So Nitispar leading a defense with all of how many Titans did NC let's actually back up a little bit, because a lot of people who are watching the show might not know exactly what happened in HTAC 5. What was the death toll at the end of this? What all did NC lose? I know that they lost some Supers and some Titans and a Keep Star.
So yeah, they lost.
They lost 3 Titans, 3 Supers, and the Keep Star, as well as a bunch of random faxes and
carriers and stuff. So yeah, so there's 3 Nixes, 2 Avatars, and an Erebus. Some interesting points to point out here. Headliner was the fleet commander for PL. No comment from him. We had obviously I reached out to Killer B for comment. He told me that it was this Natsapar guy. I've never heard of him, but apparently he was the big man in charge of it all. So I think that's kind of weird that's who you put in charge of a Keep Star defense, is the guy you never heard of. On top of all this, There was an order. We talked about this on INN as it was happening live. Believe the joke or the inside joke on Reddit is, you remember during the big huge fight we had with their Titans, where they ordered all of the faction Titans to dock because they didn't want to inflate our kill boards. The 3 Titans that were dying were ordered to eject all of their purple and valuable mods and then shoot the cans so that their kill mail would only be 80 billion instead of 110, 120 billion. So
I had heard that, and I also heard that you had been scooping cans. Did you personally?
Yeah, I stole 1.5 billion.
Wow.
I warped in. I saw the Titan ejected can. I warped out to a spot like right on grid. Warped back in and looted literally a Titan fit, full of low slots and a couple of mid slots. They basically were ejecting their cargo. Their fit they couldn't eject because they were smart bombing. They were shooting. But they could eject everything in their cargo and their fleet hangar, and that's literally what they were trying to do. Which is kind of sad. Like, how far...
I think that's just pathetic. Like, if they're, if they're so obsessed with their kill boards that they're just trying to basically shy away from the loss because the numbers are going to make their penises shrink or something.
Well, it's worse than that. Like, how far do you have to fall as an alliance to go from an alliance who was bragging about having... Cormac fit faction Titans and posting pictures and videos of taking gates and how strong they are and how they would fight 1v100 with these things, to, hey, eject all your mods because it's going to make us look bad on the kill board.
Well, I want to bring the coordinators in here on this one because we haven't really heard from them yet. Let's start with Boris. What was it? Boris, you and John were both involved as cords on this, from what I understand. Applepear, also, to make sure that I get it right, what was your role in the fight? Were you FCing during the fight or lodging anchor? What were you doing during the fight?
I was arriving late as FC. We had a fleet that got a bit smart bombed, and then I formed a new fleet to add extra number.
A bit smart bomb.
So let's start with Boris and John, and either of you can answer this or what have you. But I'd kind of like to hear what this fight was like from a coordination perspective, because from what I understand, we ended up sending 6 fleets or so through wormholes to reach this fight.
7, actually.
7 fleets. Tell us about that.
We hyped it a bit, and we managed to fill up 7 fleets. Towards the end, we started just sending more and more fleets to get people to Horn and to get additional DPS in, but we had lots of wormholes, and we managed to get fleets in very early. At the start of the day, when Kendor said, like, hey, we're going to do this, I never expected to actually see a dead Keepstar and also see dead Titans, but at the end of the day, it was pretty exciting to see this happen.
Was that a challenge? Like, was there any worry about like losing fleets in W space, or do you guys have a pretty good handle on like the mass? How did that work out?
We had one. What we're essentially doing with these fleets, we're only using K2K wormholes, which means that you actually go from like low sec to somewhere in high sec or somewhere else in low. So the only issue you can run into is that you split a fleet up, which happened once. But aside from that, we just have a group within the Imperium that just, searches and finds wormholes, and that's what we've been using.
Yeah. Were you sending each fleet into like a different hole to get them there to make sure there wouldn't be?
Correct, yeah. So we used around, I think it was 6 or 7 wormholes in total for the trip there and the trip back.
Wow, okay.
Okay, I got something. This is from Cord. I'm going to share this image with you guys, but we'll talk about this. So it's an image between Kendar and Darkshines discussing how they were going to do things. So I'll link that in the stream while you guys keep talking. I just want to preempt that real quick.
Okay.
You guys talk. I'm going to link an image. Hold on. Sorry. I'm working on it.
Okay. Well, Applepear, what was it like for you FCing during the fight? You said that you got there and you got a little bit smart bombed. What happened? Who got you?
I didn't get smart bombed. I formed after somebody else got smart bombed. I luckily didn't get that role. But yeah, it was pretty good. We had a nice wormhole together. I formed right when there was an hour into the fight already to bring some reinforcements. We had to travel a bit and then got there. First helped some people on grid to get away from some bubbles and get some sirens away. Then protected Pando. Then got the S3 dreads out of bubbles so they could get in system and start shooting stuff, and then Horde on all the things to be there. And in a tie-dye fight, that takes some time. So yeah, that was pretty good.
All right,
So,
here's the image,
here-
by the way.
Here's a question. From your perspective, and this is something that other people can answer after ApplePair gives me his take on it. What do you think that NC could have done differently in this fight to result in a different outcome? I mean, I understand that we ended up outblobbing them like crazy by sending tons and tons of dudes, but before it got to that point, what could they have done differently to have a better outcome?
I think
That's for
sorry.
ApplePair.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, they once did try with an online in Keepstar, again defended with Supers and Titans in low sec, and that didn't end that well for them. And basically what they had was too many caps, I think, and not enough subcaps. Also, something like scepters to tackle people and hold them down, or anything else that could go through bubbles to hold people down and then kill them with your fighters might have worked. Indeed, chemos. The chemo just fleets that way to get them away. Could have done, but I think they were relying too heavily on their caps and supers and not bringing enough sub caps to the party to really fend off all the fleets we had.
Pando, you have a reputation as an expert FC, particularly with your work with recently with Stuka Fleet and all of the fun MJDing stuff that you do. From your perspective, I want to ask you the same question: is what do you think that NC could have done differently in this fight that would have resulted in a different?
Do I really want to answer that? I don't know. So yeah, they should have put more pressure on us with like all kinds of stuff, right? But yeah, I think Apple was right. They brought too many caps. They relied on those fighters for way too long, right? Like, I don't know, I think we were at like 25% done, and they were still trying to just do it with fighters, right? While Goons and Snuff are pinning their subs down, right? So yeah, a chemo squad would have helped probably for them, right? But like I said, we were prepared for that case. I do not think that would have been enough. They should have brought way more subs, right? Maybe no caps at all. I mean, what did the caps do in the end? I mean, there wasn't much coming from it, right?
I feel like, and this is something they've done before, and Pando, you might agree with this. If you remember that very first Keepstar in LowSec, where we went with like 1,500 subcaps, and they managed to save it and keep it online. It was belonged to some random group that was going to be part of the NETC. And it went online, and the reason they saved it is they had a subcap fleet for every one of our subcap fleets. And it's kind of hard to shoot a Keepstar when you're having to shoot back at the bad guys.
Yeah.
And it feels like with this, there was just no effort. Like, NC was like, look, we're going to get all our Titans, PL, bring your Titans, and we're going to easily save this. Who gives a fuck? And you could tell there was no effort because Horde brought one fleet. And they brought a fleet of Jackdaws.
That's exactly the thing that I was looking at when we were looking at this fight, Pope, was that it seemed like they weren't really trying. And that was what was frustrating. I mean, when we ran the Raven fleet, I don't want to give away any Pando secrets, but we ran the Raven fleet when we first brought it out. The second fight that we brought it to, NC Dot formed sniping Rogues as the counter, and it worked okay for them. I mean, they know how to fight this fleet. It's not like this is some kind of crazy new secret doctrine that they couldn't figure out. There is a counter. They know what the counter is. They just didn't bring it. And that to me is just laziness. That had nothing to do with their inability to form. They just didn't want to do it. Felt like they just threw this Keepstar away.
Yeah, I mean, you could put it like this. There's a couple of people we could blame, and I want to see what people feel about this. First of all, NC Dot dropped the ball here. There was a Keepstar literally next door that was dropped by Horde for this specific purpose. If NC and PL needed to come over and help them, boom, they got a Keepstar right there. But like we noticed in the War in the North, they weren't willing to stage in someone else's stuff. So they dropped their own, literally next door. That's the first problem. Second problem was, because there was that Keepstar next door, according to several pings we have from Gobbins, it feels like Gobbins should give a fuck, right? He's like, look, I got a Keepstar next door for them to use. They don't want to use that, they can defend it themselves. Which is kind of a shitty attitude to have when you know that you're defending someone's, like, going to help defend someone. Like, why would you be such a shitty dude? I mean, they brought 750 people for a fight at downtime in Branch, just a week earlier. Yet they couldn't form up in EU Prime to defend a Keepstar in like their home region, so to speak. It felt kind of weird. And then finally, again with the effort, there have been several ways to deal with defending a Keepstar that work really well. I mean, we showed it a few times now. Oops, sorry about that. We've shown it a few times. You just have to put effort in, right? Numbers and effort and try. And if you don't try, what we did works great. 6, 7 subcap fleets all in different corners of the Keepstar. Keepstar model is way too fucking big. Titans don't work. Boom. Easy save.
But if you could remove the image, we can't see any alert.
Oh, fuck, sorry. I had it there for a moment, sorry.
Thank you.
If they brought any real doctrines, it might have also helped.
Yeah, I mean, battleship fleets. They didn't even bring a battleship. They had one Munin fleet, right? And Jackdaws? Is that it, John?
No, they had the PL and NC were both in their own Union fleets, and Horde were in a Jack.
Well, they had subcap fleets, right?
I
And
think one of the other
They
issues
don't
they made is also positioning very early.
What do you
How
mean?
so?
Go ahead, tell us.
And the entire bottom of the Keepstar was basically unprotected. They all just sat on top of the Keepstar.
Yeah, they dropped all of their caps just in between the towers at the top, so they
Yeah.
couldn't really position it.
I mean, here's a question. Maybe you guys can comment on this if you want to. The system of Sino Jams, okay? They had all of their Titans and Supers and such in there. Could they not have, and maybe this is on their end, because of its Sino Jam and safe, couldn't they just split up their Titans, like a small group at the top, a small at the bottom, a small in front, small in back, have like 20, 30, 40 Titans spread out and just start shooting from all sides? Could they not have tried that? I mean, we did that to save a Keepstar once, and it worked out fine. Like, we had a
You'd
group
have
on
to
the
split
bottom.
the Titans up so much you wouldn't be able to rep them all properly.
yeah, well, so spreading them out equally, it's gonna be tough already, right? So you need to
Yeah.
have all the bookmarks prepared for that. Don't forget that Keepstar, like, it's a new spot, so nobody probably has like bookmarks prepared everywhere. So if you're so confident that you go into this fight like this, I don't think they had someone prepare like bookmarks and all kinds of shit for this properly, right?
So what you're saying, it comes back to
I don't
effort?
think they had that option to do it properly. And if you do it improper, like you saw what happened to the times they actually warped off, right? So it's a huge risk, right?
It sounds
And
like
they didn't
uh,
they didn't want to spend the time on it also. So if they really wanted that and wanted us not to get into the system, yeah, it has some decent amount of gates. But if you have the damn thing Cyanogen, just put bubbles on every gate, put caps on every gate. Good luck getting subcap fleets in.
I mean, even CO2 managed to pull that off when they were trying to save a Keepstar. They put a super fleet on a gate with a shitload of bubbles and said, okay, jump into us. And this system felt like they could have done the same thing if they really wanted to. It just feels like effort. Again, they had 24 hours to prepare for this, and it just feels like they just didn't give a fuck at the end of the day. And it's really strange coming out of a group like NC.
I think it's
Well,
kind of worth saying
this-
that the NC Sino-jammed all of their solve around it, right? And HTAC 5, but they didn't get Horde to jam the system.
Yeah, that is one of the things
system has a
here.
couple more.
I mean, HAC 5 is on the border to Geminate, and that is one of the biggest questions here. Clearly, it was placed there in order to help NCDOT and Horde work together, and then Horde only sent the one fleet for something that would be key to the defense of Geminate. And notably, at the time, Horde was still operating under the stated goal of attacking Branch, where they had no SOV and no success against Guardians of the Galaxy. And then after HTAC 5, they have announced that they are running home back to Geminate, which they said they were going to be abandoning forever. So
We have a comment
That's-
here. I know normally don't do questions till later, but this is important. RDevs is a very prominent old GSOL guy, and he says, look, you don't just have 24 hours notice. You have a lot more than that, because you don't just pull a Keepstar out of your fundament, right? Like, you don't drop one of these things without a little preparation. So it feels like they just didn't give a fuck. And actually, that leads me to a great segue quote. We couldn't get any hostiles to come on and actively give us quotes, but I did get a quote from Killa B that he would like us to share. I asked him, who's the guy that FC'd? He points it out, and I said, well, will he come on and talk about it? And he says, no, he definitely won't come on the show. And I don't want to be associated with that shit shows. And when asked if I could use that quote, he says, sure, I don't give a fuck. So, I mean, that kind of gives you the idea of NC.'s state of mind. When your best FC won't even, doesn't give a fuck.
I'm just curious that a couple of the amateur hour mistakes that were made in this fight, such as warping Titans and Supers to try to save a few carriers that were tackled, do make more sense if you understand the entire operation as being left to a C team person. I don't remember a time where I've heard of Nidaspar being point man for NC.'s Titan fleet.
Yeah.
If anybody here can jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, but I just don't remember this guy being in charge of Titans and Supers from NC.dot as a primary coalition.
I've never
leader.
seen him let FC
What?
subcaps.
Yeah,
And what you got?
Heard of the name. I
Yeah.
don't know who that is, to be honest. But, well, I don't want to shit on the guy too much. And from Killer Bee's perspective, I can totally understand. I mean, he clearly gave enough of a shit to die a couple times, right? Get a headshot and stuff.
Yeah.
So he tried, but like taking over an op like that, that's lopsided from the start. That's a it's a shit thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, well,
You
here's
don't
a
need
question.
that.
Sorry. Here's a question though. You look at this. I mean, let's imagine for a second that Initiative had dropped one of these in Y2, right on the border of Delve, because they need to help Delve. Delve's under attack. I'm pretty damn sure goons would Titan Bridge to one jump out as much and over again as they could to get new ships in there to save this thing if it was under attack, right? It just feels like Horde could have bridged easily. We're looking at the map here, and I'll link it for you guys. They could have easily bridged to MR4, took the gate in, and just constantly brought dudes in. This Keepstar was on the MR4 grid. The gate was clear. I went in, stole loot, and left through that gate, dropped the loot off, and came back and shot more Titans. So obviously I could do it in a frigate. I just don't understand. If you want help from NC.dot and PL, why would you not care to help them?
It sounds like it's just a lack of coordination and leadership on the part of the hostiles in general, right? Because in order to line up something like that, you need to have clear lines of communication between NC.dot, which is the group that's dropping the Keepstar, and Horde, which is the one that's most likely to be able to send in reinforcements. And if you have a C-Team FC that nobody's heard of in charge of the defense from NC.dot, by the time that they realized that they were in trouble, it was probably already too late. Like, we don't know if Goblins was even around or on the field. By the time that you're picking up the bat phone and going, oh shit, like our Keepstar is under attack, it's here and we need help. If you haven't done that homework in advance from a coordination perspective, it's probably already too late.
I can answer that. Gobbins was there because he was firing off broadcast before and after. And he was around to comment onto why they were doing so badly and why they were doing so well. So he was definitely there in some capacity.
The other thing that I was surprised about was they gave up so early. I mean, they gave up around 30% left on the Keepstar and started signing out. I mean, to the point that not only did all the caps leave, but their sub-cap fleets left too, because we were able to gate dreads over from the other system to kill those carriers and Titans that were left. I mean, that's just crazy. They didn't even try to pick us off as we were extracting.
Well, let's get to that though.
That you do in every fight, and they just gave up and stopped doing it.
We've been talking about how bad they were in the Keepstar, so let's switch positions here to those Titans. From what I was told, I got home and got involved and asked around and got inquiries that apparently a man on the inside in Horde fleet warped a few Horde carriers to his own Hector. Horde had free move on. They fleet warped, I think, 6 carriers. The Horde Capital FC was in an interceptor with flagged exempt from fleet warp, so he didn't even notice that the carriers were warping until it was too late. They land inside a Hector bubble, and according to what I'm told, NC reacted by going, oh, let's just throw some Titans and Supers at the problem, go over there, save those carriers, warp back, they won't bother us, and then 3 get caught, Titans and 3 Supers. Is that what happened? I mean, was that correct? Or?
Yeah, I mean, basically, right? I don't know what the thought was behind the Titans and Supers, right? But I'm pretty sure the carriers got warped by like a spy or by someone inside the support, right? And then, yeah, we were all surprised. Like, I was thinking maybe they've got a secret plan, right? You never know. Yeah. Maybe they've got that. They've surprised us before, right? They're not dumb. So we were expecting some real stuff to kick off, and then it was kind of underwhelming, right?
I mean, we were honestly waiting for them to cycle down the Sino Jammer and then drop their Titan fleet back on top of us. I mean, that's kind of what we expected to have happen, but they didn't.
Yeah, but like if you can't catch us with like fighters burning after us with like a shit ton of speed, like, why would you assume you can get anything with Titans warping after us, right?
Yeah. I think at that point,
it didn't make any.
I think at that point it feels like, and this is my opinion, maybe others can agree or disagree. At that point, at that 30% mark, they just wrote everything off, right? An adult came in the room, maybe Killaby, maybe someone with power, and said, "Look, y'all are fucking up too much. We've seen this where Mittens will come in the room and sometimes they'll be like, look, this is not a win. We need to get out. Like, just get the fuck out. Leave." Where an adult steps in the room and says, "Look, just write it off. We're done. We'll get those Titans replaced." I mean, does that feel like what happened?
It feels like it to me. I mean, that's what it looked like they did.
30% sort of the number you need to start running, or you're not going to get out before tie-dye and everything.
Right. Because in chat, we're seeing several notable Goon FCs that were FCing. I think Salt for the Soul was FCing one of the Goon fleets. He says that at one point, PL left way before NC did. And then NC was like, okay, we're kind of alone here, so let's tether up and get the hell out of here. So if that's how he saw it and a couple other people saw it that way, then that would make sense that they just wrote it off. So
that's basically what happened. PL literally just abandoned NC at some point.
So what I heard about the PL fleet was that they didn't even have someone really in charge of their supers. So I think the PL supers and stuff, they never did anything beside sending one swarm of fighters after us for like a couple of minutes. And then they basically abandoned them and jumped out, right? So I think they might not even have, maybe they didn't have an FC for the job right there, right? Nobody to take over that thing.
Yeah, we've seen that before, where Vince will come along, someone notable will come along and say, okay, PL, we need your Titan Supers, NC log in your Titan Supers, and they'll go as a group under someone that they trust. I don't know this Par guys, so it's kind of weird that would happen. But we did have, so apparently Headliner kept getting killed, so that's impossible too.
Monitor.
Yeah, real quick too, one thing that is a big deal about this fight is just I think a day or two before this fight kicked off, or maybe during this fight, Elita Stops from Pandemic Legion joined Snuffbox, and that's a new recent development. That's something that happened this week. So that was another little addition to this, is that you had Elita Stops guys there shooting PL and NC during this fight, I believe.
Oh, were they already in Snuff at the time? I don't even know.
I think they were. But I'm not 100% sure, so I'm trying to find out.
That's kind of funny.
I believe they were in that.
Yeah, they are.
Which adds more to it. Anyone?
I mean, I thought you said that adds more to it.
Well,
were you asking a question?
Oh, I meant it adds more to the dynamic of this, right? Like, as soon as PL just looks like they're falling apart. I mean, NC we see with this Keepstar that they aren't really all there, but what state is PL in that it's this bad inside PL at the moment that they don't even have someone to FC their caps?
Well, I mean, they had Headliner, who's the active campaign commander for PL these days. So he was there, he was on the field, he was active and engaged, which is more than you can say about Vince during this fight. I think that it's sensible for PL to not throw in heavily. You don't want to throw good money after bad, and it seemed like this thing was just a shit show right from the start.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's a curious power vacuum in the galaxy, because one of the things about a situation like HTAC 5 is it really just puts a lot of blood in the water, which isn't to say the Tribute is going to get invaded or any of these other things. But the fact that these guys can lose a Keepstar under their own Super Cap umbrella in territory that has been successfully jammed is just stunning. Really, I mean, it is. When I heard that the Keepstar was going to be under attack, I assumed that it was going to go nowhere, that it would get to around 50% or whatever, and then Order and Sense would take over. The bad guys would use their super caps successfully, and then whatever, we took the shot, maybe it would miss, whatever. But yeah, it really is just to see the super caps of PL and NC Dot in place in their own territory. It just sends a very surprising message of weakness.
I do have something I need to share real quick before we continue on. Actually, no, we don't. That happened a couple days ago. Rip. Never mind. I will say this real quick. We are about halfway through the show. A little over half. We do have a new sponsorship now. We are officially sponsored by Blue Microphones, and we will be showing off a lot of that swag. So I wanted to say thank you to Blue Microphones for sponsoring the Meta Show and INN and FatBeat TV. I was going to say we are giving away a Fallout 76 bundle, but that happened a couple days ago, and I've been busy because it was my birthday and holidays, but that happened on the 19th. So some lucky winner, if you've been watching the shows, there was a click there for that, and someone won something that was really awesome. I have a Yeti. I know a lot of people do. So back to the show. Sorry, I just wanted to make a quick shout out to those wonderful people at Blue Microphones. One thing that was huge here, and this is a first. All right, we've known about this war, and we're gonna segue into the branch war in just about 2 seconds. But GOTG showed up, and they showed up with 20 interceptors, and they shot those Titans and got on the kill mills and screwed off. And there was a lot of comments on INN during this fight of, you called CO2, CO2 never came. You called Horde, Horde showed up with 200 guys, and you didn't call GOTG, and GOTG might have showed up with more than all of them. And it kind of shows you when NC picked a side. I mean, from all we've heard, NC has picked the Horde side in all this. They're willing to defend Horde in Geminate, but they're not willing to defend Branch from Horde and help out GOTG. So we're pretty sure that they've taken a side in all this. The question is now, what would have happened if they had taken GOTG side? And GOTG shows up, maybe a couple more 100 guys. It's an interesting question.
I don't think that would have made a difference, to be quite honest. I don't think GOTG is in a state where they can have a major impact on a fight like this.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is like, because even if they had allied primarily with Guardians of the Galaxy, Guardians of the Galaxy's center of power is really far away from Veil of the Silent, and not everybody has the kind of wormhole capabilities that the Imperium has from Pathfinders. So it's not a simple thing of like, hey, if they had been allied with GOTG, I don't think that Sword Dragon would have been able to ram multiple fleets through wormholes in order to get to the Keep Star in time and be able to do anything about it.
That's an interesting point, though, because NCPL had one of the greatest wormhole maps in all of EVE for at least a year or two, where they could show up to any fight at any time with subcaps. And they did it numerous times. There'd be a big fight going on, all of a sudden, hey, PL's forming up in their home staging system with 200 guys. That means they found a wormhole. That means they'll be here within 30 minutes. You need to be ready for that. Your comment makes it such a dynamic shift. It's like, wait a minute, PL and NC aren't ready with wormholes. Holy shit, where have we gone? The goons have better wormhole mapping than they do. That's just...
And all the talented people in your alliance stop.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, John, repeat that, please.
It's just when all your talented players leave your alliance, then what? You're just a bunch of elite PvPers with one guy leading you. Who then gets headshot twice and quits.
Yeah, that's true, because actually if they had that capability, it wouldn't then be reliant upon Guardians of the Galaxy or anybody else to have their own wormhole capability, because PL or NC could then communicate the wormhole pathways to people who would be willing to send a fleet in. The whole thing is just, it's just a fucking mess, basically. Like, it's kind of, it's sad. I mean, it's fun for us, I suppose, to point and laugh about this, but in many ways it felt more like an execution than any kind of fair fight.
Yeah. And that
Kellaby would have been there to FC, but he had a Mithrax raid in a Wilder run. So,
Keller, an Alliance limited Declan having issues getting over to fights in Vale, where we've never happened before. Well, that gets us to a great segue, because the branch war has officially ended. Not that I think it ever began in the first place, because, well, yeah. According to sources, Pandemic Horde has moved all their Titans and Supers home. Black Legion has fallen off the map and aren't really doing anything but coming over to Geminate with token fleets. And Branch is, well, still impossible. I mean, I don't think they lost a single hub in the entire war, so I don't even know what the fuck we want to call that, but it's over, I guess, maybe. I don't know. Anyone care to comment on that?
It's just Horde desperately looking for somewhere to rat and man.
I never felt like they gave their whole heart to that campaign, to be honest. I felt like it was just alright, we'll go up there and bother these guys. But there was never any real, push for it. It just didn't seem like they had their.
One of the things that struck me as unusual about that was if they had actually burned their ships behind them. Like Gobbins had made this thing about how they were going to be abandoning Geminate and moving to Branch, and that was going to be their new home. And then they never actually followed through with that. They kept their space in Geminate. They actually tried to defend their space in Geminate. NC Dot played a Keepstar and lost it on the border of Geminate to better defend that region. If you're going to tell everybody that you're relocating to a new home and you're burning your ships behind you, you have to do what Goonswarm did at the end of the Great War in 2009, where you literally just tear everything down and say it's win or die, and light a fire under everybody's ass. And they never did that.
Darius Johnson, that was one of the things that he was worried about, was like, hey, did I make the right choice in just abandoning everything we currently have that was slowly dying to risk it all on the Delve plan? And if it's either forward or done, right? And I don't think you're ever going to... I mean, look, the war is officially over in Branch, and we're still hearing Gobbins say to people, well, we may still abandon Geminate to go to this place, and we may go to this place, and we may go to that place, and it feels wishy-washy, and I don't even fucking know.
I bet CO2 is going to be very upset.
We had friends with GOTG for how long? And then all of a sudden they're going to turn around and go on a campaign against them. I mean, maybe that made sense to Gobbins and the guys at the top, but I'm sure the line members were like, why are we doing this? This doesn't make a lot of sense.
Wait, hold on. I think Boris was just saying something about CO2. Please, what do you mean?
Sorry, I said I bet CO2 is going to be very upset about not getting Branch.
Why? Yeah. Wait, were they promised Branch?
Well, didn't Gigex say, or his wife, say that if they don't get Branch, they're gonna abandon?
I don't know. Apparently they were on
they're gonna...
They deployed with the statement of, we're gonna win this war or we're gonna disband.
So nobody bothered to tell CO. I haven't heard anything about CO2 in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So that's, I mean, that just shows you how, I guess we're on to what, Gigex's cousin now running the alliance. So we're running out of
his
people.
dog,
Godfather. Isn't it?
No, wait, hold on, don't insult Good Dog FCs. That's horrible. You can't associate them with Gigex.
But one of the things about that entire thing, like from a leadership perspective, that I think is interesting about the Branch campaign was not just the fact that Gobbins didn't really burn his bridges behind him to force people to be engaged in the campaign. It was, okay, you're going to go attack and you are the primary force. Like it or not, Pandemic Horde has usually been what I would call a Hold Superman's Cape alliance. Some people would call them pets or meat shields or what have you. But even in the days of the Great War, Bob's pets, renters who also fought, would actually have some degree of like leadership in some FCs and people who would be engaged. What was curious about the Branch campaign to me is that essentially they hired a leader. Pandemic Horde hired Elo Knight from Black Legion, and then didn't really put any Horde FCs or leadership figures forward. So essentially the entire campaign that they were going to be standing to benefit from was on the shoulders of Elo Knight to provide all of the oomph for them, I guess. And it's just really strange to see an alliance going to war to take a region without that alliance themselves having any military commanders worth a name on the ground and relying on delegating it out.
Okay, this just came in.
One sec. Oh. So Elo Knight is also on the wrong time zone for that, right?
Exactly, yeah. He is. He is entirely, for people who aren't aware of this, Elo Knight operates primarily in late U.S. time zone, and any campaign against Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be Russian time zone, AUTZ, early EU at best. Right. So it's just a total mismatch.
I've got some news for you. This is hot off the presses. So we can confirm CO2 was promised 7 solar systems. They were promised the constellation I just linked in chat. If they won the war in Branch, they were convinced that this was the war to kill GOTG and take back what is theirs. Gigex told his members such. Also, apparently, Gigex has not FC'd a fleet in an entire week. He's been gone completely after he called his fleet cunts and pussies for not being good enough because they wouldn't give him enough numbers to take a system. He has vanished. So this is coming from inside CO2 to us. Live on
I think that if CO2 was going to get systems in Branch, they might actually show off and fight once in a while.
Yeah.
But going back to
without...
Horde.
Yeah, you go.
going back to Horde, like, is it not sad that Horde is now existing 3 years? That in those 3 years they still don't have pushed to get good FCs, to get good leadership, to get there, because Horde has the potential of being a good alliance and being a real fighting force, but they don't take the time to get their stuff sorted, and I think that's a
Well-
bit sad.
So I think Horde actually has decent leadership, and they had good FCs most of the time. So I mean, how long is that phase now, right? This branch thing. So they're not as shit as people want to make it out. I think so. Shitting on Horde, I think if they keep this level of commitment up for like another couple of months, yeah, then I'd agree. But everyone fucks it up every now and then, right?
What I like,
It was a shit campaign. It happens, right?
Pando, you might agree with this or not, but I like to think of Horde leadership looks out for Horde leadership. It feels like with the Blessed Being, with the Vanguard, they look out for those elite group of people who are willing to dedicate everything to Goblins, and that everyone else kind of just is along for the ride or they don't give a fuck about. And we are going to segue to that in just a second. I'll explain what I mean. But that's what it just feels like. This campaign was for partisans. And yeah, everyone could show up. But when you can't convince your alliance to go on deployment, that's pretty bad. I mean, if you look at our SIGs and squads, there's people clawing and begging and desperately wanting to be in all these different SIGs and squads and groups to go where the fun is. And the partisans was Pandemic Horde's attempt to do that. And it doesn't seem like very many people care to go or want to go on this.
Yeah.
It
I
just
agree.
kind of speaks, I think, to the state of their alliance. When you don't have your line members caring or wanting to be a part of the fun, when you're generating that's what partisans were doing. We're generating things for them to do. They were showing Titan kills, super kills, and all this fun thing to do, according to Goblins. Yet nobody wanted to go. And then you see what a few SIGs and squads do to GOTG, and all of Goondom's going, when can we go? When can we go? When can we go? You know what I mean?
I want to see. Also, I didn't mention this earlier. My bad. If we've gone into Cool Kids only mode here in chat, so if people have questions for us at all, please let us know in chat. We will ask them of our panel of guests. If you have, there's something here in German, and I don't speak German, aimed at Pando, and I have no idea what it says, and I'm not going to try to butcher the language.
I'll link it to him in case he's not looking at chat.
Yeah,
That's what it says,
looking.
Pando.
Oh, he's just saying that I'm always looking for the good things in people.
Yes, Greystar also, or Greystar and Nigian. Thank you guys for.
There was a question from Pando a minute ago, before we went into Cool Kids mode, and I will share this. He goes, why is it that NC's Titans got to die, but not GOTG's?
Well, so about the GOTG Titans, I feel like since we've probably got like 90% goons on right now, right? Some of you may have been there, right? Maybe I should explain that situation a little bit.
Please do. Yeah, we've seen some questions about it on the previous show, and
So,
I don't.
because the confusing part was probably like when we formed, we basically made the decision to save them on the way there, right? And when we were actually making the decision, there was no goon fleet on grid or anyone. And we were like, let's say, I think it was 5 jumps out when we actually informed GOTG that we're actually coming to save them. And when we hit grid, that's where we realized, oh, there's a couple goons here too, right? So usually that would have complicated the whole thing. And we would have, if there's blues involved, we don't want to spoil their fun. We were actually coming to have a fight with Black Legion and Horde and so on, and then spoil their fun, right? So it would have been way more tricky to save them if we would have known the blues are on grid. So since we already told GOTG, we had to go with it, right? So we can't just abandon that deal then. If
Right.
you guys would have been on grid before we made the decision, then the decision would have most likely be, let's just go and kill them, right? Easiest tracks of our lives, and everything would have been easy peasy. Titans would be dead, and everyone would be happy to some degree at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for the guys who got bombed on grid, I'm sorry, but we had to go with it, right?
I may or may not have trolled during that time. Sorry.
And yeah, you know,
Well,
it's
the other
always
thing that we said was basically that the Black Legion, they're not allowed to kill darkness. That's our job.
yeah,
You can't- you
exactly.
can't- They're not allowed to haze our pledges. Only we can haze
You
our
can't
pledges.
get rid of the gaming reservation. We have to farm them later.
Those are ours, guys, to farm. You go
Yeah,
find
this-
your own.
It's not the same if you help hostiles kill a Titan. It's not like it doesn't feel the same, right? If you catch them and you kill them, that's great. But just being there and just grinding them down. I mean, how much pleasure do you get?
It's
out
like
of it?
buying a
if you-
day to put
If
on
you're
your
killboard warrior, I get it. And some people, even in our lines, weren't too happy with it. But I think in the end, there was so much drama and so much Reddit shit going on. There was actually most people agreed it was the right call and was good fun.
That was kind of the best part, was everybody freaking out afterwards.
Yeah.
That was,
But like I said, also to our guys, when we made the call, we expected this to be a tough fight, right? There was 2 Minion fleets on grid. There was a PL Stuka fleet on grid. There was Bombers Bar and Bombers, and we were on our own, right? I mean, if you count in the 20 DOTD comms
Yeah.
that just died on the spot. So basically, we were on our own in one Stuka fleet. It was a huge one, but whatever. But we expected this to be a fucking tough fight, right? Units are not easily dealt with bombers and MJDs. So we were surprised. They instantly aligned out and just warped, right? That wasn't what we envisioned when we made the decision.
Yeah. So to share this, Pando obviously got this linked to him by me, but this is something that happened a couple weeks ago. But Elo was so scared of those bombers arriving to kill anything, just kill even one ship, that he was saying, "Look, boat, I need you to find out if they're here to help us or shoot us. Because if they're not here to help us, we're leaving." And as soon as I didn't reply to him, he's like, "Oh, fuck." And then that was the end of the conversation. A couple minutes later, his fleet was gone. And PL right before him. So it was hilarious to see like just how worried he was that those bombers were going to go specifically for Elo and specifically for his fleet. And everyone else was just going to abandon him. So
I think you have a reputation here, Pando.
Well, they killed a Stuka fleet before with Munions. I mean, so they know it's possible. In this case, the Stuka fleet was huge, and the Munion fleet was decent sized. I'm not sure how big it was, but so it would have been tough for them. But they didn't even try. That's the weird
the best
part.
part. Yeah.
You
So
gotta-
I didn't
Question.
like that part at all. Right? I would have thought it's going to be a tough fight, and it's going to be like good fun for everyone.
you know, you have to admit that you'd like to headshot you. So we probably would have.
Well, it's it's good fun. Yeah.
So a question that was asked to me is, and maybe Pando.
I got one.
Oh,
just
go ahead.
before
Yeah,
that.
go ahead. We got a bunch of
So
them.
Zalman is asking here in chat, are we seeing, with all the Eve is dead shit attitude on Reddit, are non-Imperium people just giving up on Eve? I don't think that Reddit really reflects what's actually happening in Eve, because we are, regardless of the HTAC 5 fight not going well for NC Dot and at all, you are seeing a lot of active engagements taking place in this game. So I think that you wouldn't see the slap fight amongst the former Northern allies. You wouldn't see the Tri and Fraternity front in the East. There would not be nearly as many battles or explosions taking place if people were just giving up. If people were actually giving up, there was a real enthusiasm problem about EVE Online right now. We wouldn't have spent the entire show talking about space battles that involved us shooting on Imperium people. It's a reasonable question, though, because there's definitely been a lot of whining on Reddit, but that's also something you see on days that end in Y. What was the question you had?
So someone asked me this, and I have been meaning to bring this up, and we have such a great panel to ask this question to. What happens if Elo and the Black Legion crew just say, "You know what, Goblins, fuck you," and they just don't help them anymore?
I think Black Legion, like what they do, is fun stuff, right? As soon as it's not fun anymore, that's it. So I don't think they can run a campaign effectively. So they can form and join some fights and third party and stuff, but I do not think the FCs have the motivation to actually go on a grind, right? And I think Elo wouldn't even disagree. I think he would admit that too. Like they're to join in fights and just have some fun. And you know, you can make it super hard to have fun in EVE. So a campaign will never be a thing for them, you know. So they will always be like somewhere third party and stuff. They'll not like call out fucking any group, right?
I mean, we've hired Black Legion before under several campaigns, and they're specialists. They don't grind. They will explicitly refuse to engage in any of those things that are necessary in a Sov war to actually prosecute a campaign. They're really useful as mercenaries to help out if you have your existing like Sledgehammer or Steamroller force to do all the nitty gritty work. So to answer the question of where would Horde be without Black Legion, essentially they're in the same place as they are with Black Legion, because Horde apparently doesn't have the capability of prosecuting a Sov campaign on their own. And Black Legion operates only in one time zone, a very specific time zone, in a very limited way. So that's where they'd be without Black Legion, is the same place they were with Black Legion, which is giving up and retreating back to Geminate after several weeks of not going anywhere.
Yeah, so
see, that's weird, because I would think that, you know, having an active Sov campaign, that gives you a chance to give your lower-level FCs a chance to go out and shine and to do something. You go out, do the Entosis grinding in a situation where there's not a lot on the line. And then if you got a big fleet battle or something like that, you get Elo in there and he can FC it, and you bring the numbers, and there you go. You guys got a good synergy. But I feel like they miss an opportunity by just giving up, because the biggest issue I can tell with Horde is that they need, you know, FCs that are trained up and ready to go, and they need that next generation to step in. And they're not gonna have opportunities if they're not gonna give these guys fights.
Well, and I do have something for you. This comes from inside the most secretive of secret groups in Horde. This is called Blessed Being Vanguard. These are the guys, I mean, I wouldn't call it secretive. I mean, these are the guys that consider themselves above the lower caste of society. And we knew that they were operating in Kavala Expanse. We deployed NGSA there to say hello. And they gave up on the region pretty quick, pretty much day one. It went from... I believe 200,000 rats killed in a day to about 2,000 in one day. So we knew Kavala was thrown away. Inside the last week, we've heard, Vanguard people being told, "Hey, join this special group. We're gonna farm in Vale, in Venal. We're gonna do burner missions and frigates and make all our money that way, because the Goonies can't camp us there." But we just got some intel today. This comes from a verifiable source. He could not be here today to share with us this information, but it appears that Horde, Vanguard, and Blessed Being have blued Hard Knocks and Hard Knocks citizens, and have purchased the rights to rat and mine in Cobalt Edge, which is about as far away from goons as you can get safely. To quote, I believe someone in this chat panel here, it's 2 mids and 30 gates to get to this group. And we do have a live picture. This is from in-game currently. This is in one of the systems they just bought out in Cobalt Edge. These are all Blessed Being people. So when we say that it feels like, or when I say I feel like inside Horde there's the elitist group and then everybody else, this is what I mean. They can safely rat and mine in the middle of nowhere where no one can get to, while all the line members have to pick up the scraps and gem it and hope they don't get killed by, Pando and John Hartley and all these other wonderful people on our panels. So this is horrible. Like, this is something Bob would have done, right? Back in the day. They would have segregated themselves off from the renters and the rest of the people and left them to fend for themselves while they went and made their money and hid in the corners of Delve.
Didn't they always have their own pocket? They always had their own pocket, just not as far away, right?
Right, their own pocket was always in the same region, though, right? Like, it was still part of the region. It still could be killed just as much as everyone else, if it so be. Whereas in this case, I mean, this is the middle of fucking nowhere. Like, this is like in the desert of Egypt while everyone else is fighting in Europe.
Sounds like NGSA has a new target then.
This has already been added. I already broadcasted about it. But that's the question is how can you function, I mean, in today's EVE, where the regular line member inside Initiative or Goons or TNT can operate in anywhere in our space without fear of being told to get the hell out. And then you have a group like Blessed Being who can rent space from Hard Knocks, get all of Horde to blue Hard Knocks and Skill U, and get Skill U not to fuck with them in any manner, shape, or form. I think that's kind of a It's got to be a shitty deal for all the regular line members in Horde, right?
Well, we'll see how it plays out. They might not care if they're used to it. If that's the system that they have signed up for and that they're used to their Vanguard or Blessed Being or whatever they want to call it, to have special privileges, then the people who are there have sort of tacitly accepted that kind of a stratified and hierarchical society. So it's entirely possible that instead of being horrified by this revelation, they'll just go, okay, sure, cool. I mean, let's not forget that during one of Horde's mercenary contracts, they received a bunch of money to help. I forget who it was that was in the East. And all that money went to buying super caps for that group. And there wasn't like a big revolt or a scandal about that internally. So maybe this is just the usual thing for these guys, and that's how they want to run their society, and that's what people there sign up for.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just I feel bad for the regular guys, because like, why not just join Karma Fleet or ASCII or Initiative or TNT or all these other wonderful homes where you can play in EVE and just do what you want and have fun and make money and not have to deal with this shit. Like, feels like they're brainwashed almost, you know?
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
I keep saying we need a new newbie group, right? I mean, how long has Horde been around? Isn't it every couple of years we get a new one, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been
That's a good point.
a while. Brave was doing a much better job of being a newbie-oriented group than Horde was. The churn rate, which we were calculating during the Casino War, of people joining Horde thinking that that is all there is to EVE Online and then quitting, was really quite frightening.
So what,
It's
1,000
not
a week?
good. It's not good for newbies to join Horde, because they're going to have a bad time. They're not going to be supported, and then they'll wander off and leave the game.
Yeah, it's just.
But
We're out of time.
we are out of time,
Damn it.
boys and girls.
We get so immersed in our joy of shitting on our enemies here, while being fair and balanced.
Well, with that, I want to thank everybody on our panel for joining us this week. I appreciate all of your efforts and also for the detailed explanations of what happened in HTAC 5. And we will be back next. I don't know what we're going to be talking about, but we will find something. It's EVE Online. There is always drama and always something exploding.
There's always something. Always.
So, absolutely. So thank you all very much for coming this week, and we will see all of you back next.
Yep. Thanks for coming, panel and guests. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me.
You are about to receive messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned. Your view on things will be altered. You are now part of the meta. The meta controls everything. The meta determines what will and will not happen. You are watching The Meta Show.